Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I'd like to just take a moment to talk about elderly abuse. Some people, they've got old. They're mentally infirm. They're physically infirm. They don't really have a good, solid grasp of reality. And for them, it really should be a matter of going somewhere to be cared for privately, to maintain their dignity, so that people don't mock them, laugh them. Don't let people's sort of everlasting memory be of something where you are ridiculed. And of course, the family should take more care of people like this. To expose them to this sort of thing is also, it's cruel. I think it's cruel more than anything else. And you shouldn't make people in this position do things that they're not able to do. And sometimes I think it's just for cruelty's reason. There's no other reason. In any other way, you should just let this, in this case, this elderly gentleman, retire, go into a private health home, be cared for the rest of his life, which probably isn't very long, and let him maintain his dignity and whatever's left of his mind and his intellect. There's not a lot. I mean, I'm going to play a video now and you'll see a very broken man. And what's very upsetting, of course, to most people, is that this man happens to be the most powerful man in the world. I'm going to roll the tape.
We talked about at the conference overall. We talked about stability. We talked about making sure that the Southern Hemisphere had access to changes, had access. It wasn't confrontational at all. He came up with
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. With every person I've met.
Now, I don't want you to think that I put that music over. That was music at the venue. He was talking, he was rambling. You don't say third world anymore, it's developing world. But he's old-fashioned. His brain wasn't going. And then he said, Southern Hemisphere. He's talking about Vietnam. He's in Vietnam. Back in Nam. But he's not talking about the Southern Hemisphere. He's talking about the developing world. He seems to think Vietnam is in the Southern Hemisphere. And then, of course, what you had was some official go, okay, yeah, stop that there, panicking. Because they realised that he was going to go off and ramble and say things. Now, we're going to go and have a look at the story in full because there was more than that. But it is absolutely astonishing that this man is allowed by his family to continue in this role. I think it's time for him to resign. The only problem is you've got Kamala coming afterwards, and she's even worse. But it's getting very close now to an election. She won't be allowed to do anything. And I think we're looking at Trump 24. Looks more and more likely, but every passing day. Let's have a look at the story, see what's going on, because it is frightening that this man is in charge. Here you go. So, incredible moment that White House staff abruptly end Biden's rambling Vietnam press conference mid-sentence, and they cut his mic. President Biden held a press conference in Hanoi in Vietnam on Sunday night, and his press conference came to an abrupt end as the voice of his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, suddenly interrupted his train of thought. Biden shuffled off stage to the sounds of relaxing jazz music before vanishing behind a black velvet curtain where the real Wizard of Oz, Barack Obama, was pulling the strings. It is unbelievable. The man should not be there. To have him there is cruelty. He needs to go for the sake of himself, for the sake of his family, but for the sake of the world. Joe, go. A sleepy President Joe Biden saw his rambling Vietnam press conference brought to a sudden end on Sunday night with his mic cut and jazz music playing him off the stage like he went on too long in an awards speech. Biden was mid-flow and answering questions from journalists when he was interrupted and forced to shuffle away and head backstage. We talked about stability. We talked about the third world. The southern hemisphere has access to change. It wasn't confrontational at all, Biden said as he rambled on. And suddenly, the booming voice of his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, could be heard butting in. And she just stopped him dead. And then off he wobbled. Off he wobbled. Probably looking for a toilet break or something. It is quite clear that this man is not mentally capable to fulfill the role of the President of the United States. He is too old, his mind is gone, and he is just... he's done. I think he's done. They're talking more about this, but anyway, after spending 2 days in India for the G20 Leaders Summit, Biden jetted to Vietnam on Sunday to upgrade the country's diplomatic ties and ended the day with a press conference. In what was supposed to be a show of stamina, Biden is circumnavigating the globe in 5 days. The 80-year-old commander-in-chief joked about not knowing if it was morning or night and ended the presser by saying, "I'm going to go to bed." He regaled reporters with a story he says it's from a John Wayne movie and features the Indians, not the ones he's just met with, who don't buy it when a Union soldier says everything will be good if they go back to the reservation. Now he's talking about Indians. Now, first of all, when you're talking about Native Americans, you can either say Native Americans, First Peoples, or you call them by their tribal names, Arapaho, Apache, Blackfoot. You do not call them Injuns, right? Because the only good Injuns are dead Injun, as John Wayne used to say. It is incredibly wrong. Now, not all that for political correctness and that, but in this case, it is so wrong. And he's calling them Injuns, as in John Wayne's Indians, having just met the Indian Prime Minister. It is unbelievable. Anyway, he's telling this story. This is the one. He says, this is the story. This is it. He says he regaled reporters with a story he says from a John Wayne movie and features the Indians, not the ones he just met with, who don't buy it when a Union soldier says everything will be good and they go back to the reservation. He says, and the Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union soldier and says, "He's a lying dog-faced pony soldier." He said, "Well, there's a lot of lying dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming, but not anymore," Biden said. And all of a sudden, they're all realising it's a problem, the president said, whispering into the mic. The president had been asked if he was concerned that there was no agreement on fossil fuels that came out of the G20 leaders in Delhi. He said he used the lying dog-faced pony soldier once again at a 2020 campaign in New Hampshire. It seems to be his go-to phrase. The press conference started more than an hour late, kicked off by the president acknowledging that his aides told him who he'd be calling on. "They gave me 5 people here," said Biden, returning to his custom of both calling from and speaking about the list apologetically. He says, "I'm just following my orders here." He's the president of the United States. He shouldn't be taking orders. He should be the one giving them. He is the commander-in-chief. Who's giving the president orders? It's Barack Obama, isn't it? The first black and gay president of the United States. Deary me. I'm not going to go on about it. It's very, very sad. But he is absolutely off his head. And another thing, when he was calling I meant to say this earlier and I just reminded myself. When he was calling the reporters, he only called on women. Maybe he thought they'd be softer on him. They weren't. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. Do we all feel safe? Do we all feel secure in the knowledge that that man is in charge of, effectively, the Western world? He is the one with his finger on the nuclear trigger. He is the one who is Commander-in-Chief of the entire armed forces of the United States of America. He is the one... Of course he's not, it's Barack Obama. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that hasn't scared you. Until next time, stay safe, stay well. And remember, Trump 24. It's going to be fun, that. Can't wait. Bye.